security selector, security association selector. The IP security provides the user with considerable flexibility in the way in which an IP security service are going to be applied to the IP traffic. And the security associations can be combined in a number of ways to yield the desired user configurations. And IP security provides a high degree of granularity in discriminating between the traffic that is afforded IP protection and traffic that is allowed to bypass the IP security. As well, the IP traffic is going to be related to a specific security associations, and there's no SA in the case of traffic allowed to bypass the IP security, and which is going to be nominal security policy database. And the security policy database contains some of the entries, and which is the simplest form, that each of which is going to be defines a subset of an IP traffic and points to an security association for that particular traffic. In more complex environments, there are multiple entries that potentially related to a single security association entry, or a multiple security associations with a single SPD entries. Let's see security policy database. The security policy database is defined by a set of IP and upper layer protocol field values, which is going to be called as selectors, as we have seen about the selectors. So these selectors are used to filter outgoing traffic in order to map it into a particular security association. So outbound processing obeys the general sequences for this IP packet. Each of the IP packet has compared the values of the appropriate fields in the packet, which against the security policy database to find a matching security policy data entry which will point to 0 or more number of security associations, and which determines the security association if any of this packet and its associated security policy index, and do the required IP security processing, that is nothing but which is going to enable the security association and the encapsulating security payload processing. So let me discuss the security related IP traffics to the specific security associations, which matches the subsequent of IP traffic to a relevant security associations, and which uses the selectors to filter outgoing traffic to map the particular process, and which is going to be based on a local and a remote IP addresses and next layer protocols name local and remote ports. Shall we discuss about the particular selectors which are going to be used over there to determine an security policy database entry? The first one, remote IP address. This may be a single IP address, and which is going to be having a range of addresses, or a wildcard address also, which is used to mask the data. The later two are required to support more than one destination system, which is going to be sharing the same security association. For example, it may be behind a firewall. The second one is going to be local IP address, which also remains same as a single IP address, and which has a range of addresses or a wildcard address for masking process, and the later two are required to support more than one source system sharing the same security association, as example behind the firewall. The third parameter or the third selector, which is going to be called as a next layer protocol. The IP protocol header, it may be an IPv version 4 or IPv version 6 or IPv version 6 extension, which includes a field which is going to be called as a protocol for IPv4, next header for IPv6, or next header for IPv6 extensions, which that designates the protocol operating over an internet protocol IP. This is an individual protocol number. It may be any or for IPv version 6 only. And sometime what happen if an security association or authentication header or security encapsulated security payload is used, then this IP protocol header immediately proceeds the authentication header or an encapsulating security payload header in the same pocket. The next is going to be name. A user identifier from the operating system, that is going to be called as name, which is used to identify the user from the operating system. And this is not a field in the IP or an upper layer of an header, but it is available in the IP security, is running on the same operating system as the user. The next is going to be an local and remote ports, which can be called as a data sensitivity label. So which is used to system used for the system providing the informations for the flow security, example secret or unclassified data. And transport layer protocol, which is going to obtain from the version of IPv4 internet protocol IPv4 or an internet protocol version 6 of the next header field. This may be an individual protocol number which has a list of protocol numbers or a range of protocol numbers. Next is going to be local and remote ports. So this may be an individual TCP or an UDP port values which are going to be listed, or a wildcard ports which is going to be present over there. So as the SDP entries are going to be as a remote IP address, local IP address, next layer protocol, name, data sensitivity level, transport layer protocol, and local and remote ports are going to be present over there. Let me have a small example of an host SDP diagram. It's a tabular column which is going to describe about this particular thing. So this table provides an example of an security policy database on a host system, which is going to be a network system, which is going to be a firewall or an router, which is going to be opposed to a network system. So let me see about this. A local network configuration which consisting of two networks. So the basic corporate network configuration as an IP network number as 1.2.3.101, and this local configuration also includes a secure LAN connection often known as an DMZ, and this is going to be identified as 1.2.4.0/24. The TMS is going to be protected from both the outside world and rest of the corporate LAN by a firewall. So the host in this example has an IP address of 1.2.4.10, and it is authorized to connect to the server 1.2.4.10 in the DMZ. So this entry in the SDP, nothing but the security policy database, should be self-explanatory. So for example, if you're going to take an UDP port which is going to have a port number of 500, it is going to be designated for the port of an IKE, in Internet Key Exchange. So any traffic from the local host to a remote host for the purpose of an Internet Key Exchange, which bypasses the IP security processing. So which is going to define actual example. So let we see about that UDP protocol, ICMP protocol, TCP protocol. So here the port numbers of UDP and TCP have been mentioned over there. So UDP, which consists of 500 as a port number, and TCP 80 as well as TCP 443 are going to be get present over them. So this table is going to be an example for a security policy database from the host end. Let's discuss another example which is going to be for SAD and